What's going on, MMA fans? I'm back to do my UFC 98 Evans vs. Machida predictions taking place May 23rd from the MGM Grand. Definitely a card I've been looking forward to. This main card is definitely awesome. It's going to be a great card to watch. Make sure you check it out, whether you go to the sports bar or you get it on pay-per-view. I'm going to work my way from the bottom of the main card all the way to the top like I normally do, so let's go ahead and get right to it. First fight of the night, Sean Sherk taking on Frankie Edgar. Sean Sherk, training out of the Minnesota Martial Arts Academy, well known for his conditioning, well known for his wrestling. He's got good boxing skills, underrated boxing skills, good submission defense, and is able to pass guys' guards very easily. Of course, fought Kenny Florian for the 155-pound championship when it was reinstated for the lightweight championship. Ended up fighting Hermes Franca, popped for the steroids, came back, fought BJ, lost that. Then ended up fighting Tyson Griffin in what was considered by many to be the fight of the year candidate last year. So, definitely an explosive guy, definitely a guy that is entertaining. He's taking on Frankie Edgar, who is a Division I wrestler, purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, good boxing skills. The only knock on him, unfortunately, I think, is that he's probably better suited at 145. Many people have said that in the past, and it's definitely something that I have to agree with. In this fight, I think Sherk's going to be able to impose his will, use the good boxing skills, try to probably keep this fight on the feet. I'm sure at some points he will get this fight down to the ground, use the combinations to set up takedowns. And I think when it gets into the later part of the second and the third, after he's worn down Edgar, I think that he's going to try to maybe look for a stoppage of some sort. Whether he goes for he loves doing the head and arm chokes, which he tried to do against Hermes Franca, or he tries to get the ground and pound. But I think this fight's going to go to a decision. Edgar's got good conditioning, but I don't think at the level of Sherk's. Not very many guys, with the exceptions of Clay Guida, Michihiro Ishida, Gilbert Melendez, have the conditioning that Sherk had. And I think Sherk's going to pull out a unanimous decision, so my pick is Sean Sherk via unanimous decision. All right, next fight, Dan Miller taking on Chael Sonnen. Dan Miller training out of the AMA Fight Club. He is a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's got good Muay Thai skills, good hands, good wrestler. Of course, the brother of Jim Miller fights at 155. He's an IFL vet. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Wins over Rob Kimmons, Matt Horwich, and Jake Roseholt. Taking on Chael Sonnen, who's training out of Team Quest. He is a solid wrestler, good hands. The only knock on him is he's got subpar submission defense, and he's had serious cardio issues in the past, even up to now. You can go and look at the first fight with Paulo Fio. That's what ended up getting him into trouble in that fight. In this fight, I think Dan Miller is going to be able to impose his will on the feet, pick apart Chael Sonnen in the first round, maybe go for a takedown, work some ground and pound. I think in the second, he'll be able to get Chael Sonnen down again, work some ground and pound. I actually think he's going to get a submission, maybe an armbar, maybe a rear naked choke, one of those two. But I'm going to pick Dan Miller via a second-round submission. I just think that Chael Sonnen's had too many issues in the past with submissions. Perfect example, Babalu, Forrest Griffin, Jeremy Horn, Demian Maia, Paulo Fio. All those guys are, good grapplers, and Dan Miller's a good grappler as well. They all gave Chael Sonnen problems, so I think that Dan Miller's going to be able to do that. And on top of that, I think Chael Sonnen's cardio is still in question. So my pick is Dan Miller via second-round submission. All right, next fight. This should be a very entertaining fight, possibly fight of the night. Drew McFedry's taking on Xavier Fupapokam. Drew McFedry's training out of MFS, Middleditch Fighting Systems. He's a good striker. His ground game a little shaky, and at times he does try to be technical, but sometimes he does get a little bit too wild. This is a must-win for him. He's got 2 losses, one to Talis Latis and one to Mike Macenzio. He's taking on Xavier Fupapokam, who's also known as Professor X, training out of the Snake Team out of Paris, France. He's a brown belt in karate, very good striker. He's got excellent leg kicks, devastating knees, devastating flying knees if he gets one on you. His ground game, a little bit suspect. He's a southpaw, and he comes out of the different organizations such as Cage Rage, Deep, Palace Fighting Championships, and so on. In this fight, I think McFedry's poses one thing that Professor X has run into problems with in the past, and that is knockout power. Paul Daly was able to knock him out. Ninja gave him problems in the fight when those two fought. And I think McFedries has got the same type of devastating knockout power. While he may not be technical, he still has that knockout power that will make Professor X back up. And when Professor X has been tested in the past with his chin, he tends to get a little bit gun-shy after that and doesn't fight to his potential. So I think Drew McFedries is going to catch him. I'm going to say a second-round knockout. All right, next fight, Matt Hughes taking on Matt Serra. This is the grudge match. Matt Hughes, Matt Serra both coached Tough 6. They were supposed to fight, but Matt Serra ended up having a herniated disc, which is where George St. Pierre stepped in at UFC 79 for the interim welterweight championship. Matt Hughes training out of the HIT squad, which is Hughes Intensive Training. Everyone knows, for the most part, Matt Hughes. He's a solid wrestler. He's got good submissions, primarily his top game. That's where he likes to get submissions from, arm bar, so on and so forth. He's got decent hands, and he's, in a situation where he needs to win as well. He's got the losses to George St. Pierre, and the loss, to, most recently to Thiago Alves. So this is a must-win for Matt Hughes. He's taking on Matt Serra, who is a brown belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's got decent hands, has fought in the past at 155. Ended up fighting on, I can't remember which season of The Ultimate Fighter, where he ended up getting the title shot with GSP. Ended up, winning that fight, getting the welterweight championship, which is what set up the whole Tough 6 situation. But Matt Serra, like I said, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt primarily. His Jiu-Jitsu is best with his top game. That's where he's most dangerous. In this fight, I think Matt Hughes poses some serious problems to Matt Serra. Matt Hughes has got decent submission defense. I think he's going to be able to take Matt Serra down at will. Probably exchange with him on the feet. Do pretty well in that department if he, gets into trouble, take the fight down. I think he's going to impose some serious damage on the ground if he gets Serra down. And I think that that's going to play into the second round. I actually think he's going to stop Matt Serra via a second round TKO. So that's my pick, Matt Hughes. Second round TKO. Alright, on to the main event. Rashad Evans taking on Lyoto Machida. Rashad Evans, Division I wrestler, has turned into a very, very good counter-striker. He's got good hands, good feet. He's got a decent ground game, an underrated ground game, training out of Jackson's submission fighting. He's got the wins over Forrest Griffin, where he won the title, Chuck Liddell, the vicious knockout, and then, of course, Michael Bisping. He's taking on Lyoto Machida, who is probably the most dangerous opponent right now at 205 in the UFC and probably in the world. He trains out of Black House. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, a Shotokan black belt in karate. Very elusive, moves in and out of the pocket very well, has some of the best footwork in MMA. He's one of the few guys that has adapted a style to where he does not take any damage barely whatsoever. He's got the wins over Thiago Silva, Sokaju, Tito Ortiz, David Heath. I mean, the list goes on for him. In this fight, I think that while it's interesting, both guys are counter-strikers. I think that Rashad Evans is going to end up playing into Machida's style. I think that he's going to try to start moving forward when Machida starts circling, using his footwork, and I think Machida's going to start picking them apart. Some have said that Machida's going to stop Rashad Evans. I don't know. I was thinking about that today. I'm going to go with the pick that logically I think is going to happen. I think Machida's going to pick apart Rashad Evans for 5 rounds, move in and out of the pocket, circle, do a lot of damage to Rashad. I think Rashad's face, body, legs are just going to be eaten alive. And I think Lyoto Machida is going to win via unanimous decision and take the 205-pound title from Rashad Evans and be the new light heavyweight champion. So those are my picks for UFC 98. Leave me some comments, constructive, negative, positive. I'll be back the night of and the night after to do my review. Make sure you check out my sponsors on the description side. And on that note, you guys, have a great day.